Hi everyone, it's Faith. I'm back. It's been a while. I have a really exciting video for you today, though. I have a copy of a brand new tarot deck. It's currently up on Kickstarter, running through November 30th, so you still have some time to get your hands on it. It is the Black Tarot, and I have it right here to share with you. So let's just dive in, because this is a really different deck and I'd like to be able to get in as much as I possibly can. This is still up on Kickstarter, so this is an advanced copy. The artist, Ian Black, was kind enough to send me a really wonderful package, including the deck itself, so that I could take a look at it and review it for you. I'm really excited to share my thoughts with you. I think that this deck has some really interesting twists on it that if you are a longtime tarot reader, you'll really appreciate, and if you maybe didn't get into tarot for certain reasons, you'll appreciate as well. So let's first look at the production of it. This is the box that it comes in. It's your pretty standard tuck box. The cardstock is on par with anything you'd find in a bookstore or a metaphysical store. It does have, you know, some of the designs on the back, so you can see what you're getting into. I believe the artist has hand lettered all of this. The letter that he sent with the package is in the same beautiful handwriting, so I'm quite sure this is all very personal. The deck itself does not come with a little white book or a guidebook. It does, however, come with a kind of like cheat sheet card with some of the differences of this deck. The backs of the deck are illustrated with this particular design. These are all of the suits that you will find inside the deck, and we're going to get to that because that's probably my favorite part about this deck. But you'll notice that it's not reversible. So if you read with the reversals, you're going to know what cards are reversed off the bat while you're shuffling. The edges of the deck are finished in silver. I was a little nervous about this when I read that on the Kickstarter. I tend to avoid decks that I know are foil printed just because it comes off on my hands a lot and it will wear down, and I like my decks to look fairly pristine. This doesn't do that. You'll notice it's not really like a chrome, it's more of like a just a nice metallic finish. So although my fingers get a little sparkly while I'm working with it, they don't like totally wear down, and I've handled this deck a lot since I've gotten it, so I would definitely feel like I would notice any wear, and I haven't experienced that yet, so not really a concern. The cardstock is on par with like most tarot decks. They're flexible, but they're not too soft. They are your pretty average tarot card size, a little bit larger than a playing card, so they're really comfortable to handle. That's important to me. I am a pretty aggressive shuffler, so I need to make sure that I can do that quickly. This is also your standard 78 card deck, so there's all your majors, all your minors, and the minors are illustrated pips. I know that's like a really polarizing point. The art itself is very minimal. They're all black and white, and they have a very sketchy quality that feels like it captures the essence of what the card is and allows you to fill in a lot of information on your own. This, for example, is my favorite card in the whole deck. It's the Eight of Snakes, and we'll get back to the suits, but so you can see what I'm talking about as far as the quality of the artwork. The artist himself has a background in architecture and said that when he was studying tarot, he would make little drawings in the margins of his notes, and that kind of evolved into the illustrations on this deck. I honestly was a little bit afraid that I wouldn't connect with the imagery because I love over-the-top things. I've got a generous dose of the too much gene running through my blood. So I really haven't connected with minimal decks in the past, but this deck I feel has a lot of extra qualities to it that might be lost if the art was any more bold or in your face or ornate. So let's get into the suits themselves, because that really is what sets this deck totally apart. Rather than the 4 suits that we are used to in tarot, we have 4 new suits. Literally 4 completely new suits. And this little card that comes with the deck is going to be your key to deciphering that first and foremost. So wands are replaced by spheres. And spheres, according to the card, represent fire, logic, energy, and origin. Fire is traditional. Energy is traditional. The logic part I had to kind of think around and look at a lot of the illustrations to get my mind around, because fire and logic don't necessarily go together in my mind. But I'm also coming from an astrological background where I'm thinking of fire signs that, you know, charge ahead and ask questions later. It's that passion that seems to negate logic to me. Origin, I think, is a concept that's best illustrated by the 2 of spheres. And the 2 of wands would be someone starting down a new path. Typically it's depicted as someone holding one wand or staff, and at the beginning of a path where there is another wand or staff planted in the ground. This has a lizard of some variety, a reptile, with a sphere in its claw and another sphere up in the air. And I think this really illustrates that origin concept. This is where we come from, what we're currently mastering, and what has yet to come to us, what we have yet to master. And that's kind of when that origin concept clicked in my mind. So snakes are earth, ethics, materiality, and nature. So while pentacles are traditionally material and earthy, ethics is the philosophical twist on the suit here. I like this suit, I think, the best of all of these reimagined suits, because you do get these like really interesting vignettes of snakes, because now we have snakes are a living object, a living creature, and we as human beings are going to anthropomorphize that and empathize with them. At least I'm going to. So it's easier to put myself into those cards than, say, the pentacles. Another example might be the 5 of pentacles or the 5 of snakes. The 5 of pentacles being usually a card of destitution and material lack, where here the 5 of snakes is this family of snakes in this tree, and this bird carrying off a snake in its beak, raiding the snake nest, presumably for dinner, but it has a sadness in a way that the 5 of pentacles doesn't. There's also emotion to snakes that isn't present in pentacles. Pentacles are like the slowest moving, often most stagnant, stuffy suit in the deck, and snakes definitely has motion to it. Then we have keys. Keys, according to our card, are air, epistemology, intellect, and tools. And you'll probably recognize that as swords. Swords are your air energy, swords are your knowledge or your intellect. The epistemology, again, goes back to this philosophical theme to the deck. If you weren't a philosophy major in college, like I was for a fleeting moment in time, epistemology is a word meaning the pursuit of knowledge, the study of the pursuit of knowledge. The fact that we're also equating it to tools is pretty appropriate, because knowledge is a tool. I find this separate from wisdom, which I would probably relate back to spheres. But the keys are your swords. The best way to illustrate the difference is, I feel, in the 10 of keys. The 10 of swords is usually some poor individual who has been terribly betrayed and now has multiple swords sticking out of their back. Usually they're dead. The 10 of keys is this person engulfed in this tornado of keys. And I have never seen a more accurate depiction of intellectual overwhelm. This is like what anxiety feels like, just being pelted by every thought you've ever had over and over until you just feel personally attacked. I think that this is a much easier card to swallow than the 10 of Swords. When that comes up in readings, I will inevitably have clients kind of like make a face and scuttle backwards, and this doesn't have that same vibe to it. I think this is a much more digestible card. And stars, our final suit, are water, metaphysics, emotion, and congruity. That sounds a lot like cups, right? Cups are our emotions, how we feel, often love and family and things like that. This deck adds kind of a spirituality to it that I think is best illustrated in the 10. The 10 of Cups is the happily ever after card. Usually it's a couple or a family looking up at the sky and seeing this beautiful array of cups and rainbows and just, you know, having it all. But here we have the 10 of Stars. And this looks to me like an assumption. I don't mean assuming like, although I am assuming about this card. I mean assumption as in being taken bodily up into heaven, having full enlightenment. I think that's a really giant difference and would make all the difference to someone relating to these cards. And I think that's where this deck really sets itself apart. There are so many cards that have these really hard set associations with them, and if you're not in the situation that they are typically describing, you're going to kind of detach from the reading. The nice thing about this deck is that I think because of the minimal art and because of this really philosophical spin on the suits, you have a lot more room to insert yourself into them. Personally, I can see this deck being really useful for personal readings and individual reflection. Some of the other differences in this deck include alterations to the majors, most notably Demon instead of the Devil. And the Devil's another card that comes up and like really scares clients a lot of the time because it's the devil and he's the king of the underworld and has these people in chains, and really it's a card about temptation and stagnation. And when you pose it this way, again, it becomes more personally relatable. It's not the king of the underworld, it is now your personal dark side, the little voice sitting on your shoulder telling you to do the things that you know are wrong, or telling you to stop growing. You also have in place of the Wheel of Fortune, which is again a very recognizable card, kind of like a roulette table that is surrounded by the 4 writers of the gospel and a whole bunch of other symbolism. You have Fortune minus the wheel, and it's these fate-like figures with all of the different suits of this deck representing all of the possibilities, rather than Judgment, which is the resurrection of the Bible, the Revelation kind of scene. You have Aeon, which is also opportunity and the next step. You have this door that you don't know where it leads, and you have the star and the key and the sphere. There is no snake present, which makes me wonder if we are the snake, but it still gets across the meaning of the card without seeming so fire and brimstone about it. And then finally, rather than the world, you have Aeon, which is all of the suits of the deck itself working together in harmony. Like I said, am not a huge fan of minimal artwork, but I think this artwork really works well for this deck, and I wouldn't see it any other way. I could easily see this deck finding a home in a lot of different collections. If you are a very seasoned reader and like something new and different, this is new and different, and not for the sake of being new and different. This is someone who clearly knows the tarot and is putting a different spin on it, not for their own personal enjoyment, but because of the way it alters the meanings. I'm the first to hate something because it's being done for the sake of being done. You know what I mean? Like, it has no business changing, they're just changing it to be different. And this isn't that. Every change here has a purpose. If you haven't gotten into tarot because you are put off by the overtly Judeo-Christian symbolism, it's much more philosophical. This is a really heady deck. This is a deck for people who want to think and really want to put pieces together. This whole deck is like a puzzle that's just really waiting for you to solve it, and I have a feeling that everyone's going to solve it in different ways. I want to say thank you so much to Black for giving me the opportunity to review this deck and share it with you. I had a lot of fun playing with this, and I'm still having fun going through it and interpreting things with new and different ideas to them. Thank you all so much for watching. Please give this a thumbs up if you like this. I'd love to bring you guys more reviews, just let me know. And subscribe if you haven't already for more content like this, as well as other videos about magic and astrology. I will be back very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.